So, a little disclaimer that was pointed out to be emphasized again by Rabbi Memram this morning, but it's also all over Kabbalah. And when we start to say something about, like, say, Dormita of Zeranpin, Zeranpin is some kind of I'm using my own words, is a male force. And then we talk about his nukva, the female, some kind of a female, his mate, let's say, that's called Zachar Banuk. We use these different kinds of words like this, but they're not real physical things. So actually, they're created in a way that they could be moved around in different positions. They are what they are. There is male and female, but on the other hand, they're not physical. These are all purely spiritual things. And as you read, one of the most wonderful things about reading and studying the Ari is the fact that things are created in what's called erichin. They're relative to each other. So if you see that in one place, it would say Zer Anpin, Zer Anpin is called Zer Anpin, but he is a giver. But another place it could be a receiver, because relatively speaking, he receives also, because the receiver is more of a female aspect and the giver is a male aspect. And it goes different ways, back and forth this way, but it's all relative in relativity. So it's a little bit, let's make sure we understand that it's all spiritual. Now, things that we've learned over here is that we have a concept that we didn't know before, probably. That's the concept of the Dormita of Zeranpin. The Zeranpin has to go to sleep. And the energy source that's inside of Zeranpin is then going to be given over to his female counterpart, which is called the Nukdazah. Now, that Nukdazah also has other names. Now, I was thinking myself, is that, well, these names that the Rav puts on them, because we're going to see some more names here, that the names that puts on them, do they mean the essence of the person that actually existed? Do we understand it in that sense? Because it seems to all tie together, so that the female attribute that we talk about over here is called Rachel. And she has a sister who's related to her, and also a female attribute called Leah. So we have a Leah and a Rachel. Does that mean that we're talking about Leah, the person Leah? Or are we talking about the root of what the person Leah represented? And that it fits together, but it fits together in Erechin. So you have to see that this is really a spiritual force. So let's look over here, and we're going to come to the end, because we're not going to be ready for all the different ideas that he has here to tell us, because we don't know the labels. And I'll just tell you a few of the labels. They're called Abba Ve'ima. Abba Ve'ima represents Chachma and Bina. It also represents in different formations something which is called Yisrael Saba V'Tavuna. And these are names that we need to know, we need to hear, but in order to really understand who they are, it could take a few weeks, a few months. It could take some time to really see the whole panoply of the players, but nonetheless, we've jumped in here. We're talking about what happens is in the cosmos. Is that what we said yesterday is that Haman was a tremendous astrologer. And he understood what was playing in the heavens. And he could see that in the heavens, something was darkening on the side, that is, the constellations were darkening on the sides of the Jewish people. And this was a time when he wanted to act. Now, as we know that the idolaters, Haman and his fellow idolaters, really don't understand or don't have an appreciation. They automatically not have an appreciation of Hashem Yisbarach. They don't understand that the stars have a creator. They don't care about that. They only care about what they can use for the selfish purposes and what can work out for them. So here we see that the story is that Haman has now looked over, and he's been able to see in the cosmos that this is a time of a darkening period for the Jewish people. Now, we understand, I feel as strongly, that the sun is getting brighter and brighter, and things are getting better and better. But on the other hand, at that time, when we saw this starting to happen, this is a very difficult time and a time of real darkness. So here comes the story. But also, it's also in the Harog as Mordechai. Whoops, I'm in the wrong place. Let me get back to the right place. So he says like this. Now there's a Dormita. The male aspect is no longer shining to the female aspect. This is the aspect of the cosmos and of the Pneumios, the inside of the Jewish people. It is a Abbas Mana Dormita, but even this time when Zaz, their Anpin, is sleeping, and in the Keva in the Yashana, where who he is giving all of his shefa, we call his influence, all of the power that he has inside of him, he's been giving it to his Nook, his female. She's not sleeping, but he is. But she's more hidden than he is. Ki oz mistalkim amochim in za, because we say, now here's a new word, because the word mochim. So we could go in and we could spend quite a bit of time talking about what mochim, but we understand that mochim is brain matter. So it's really talking here about the energy source, or what is contained inside of the energy source that makes life be. So even though the mochin have left Zah, niknasim but nekeva, but they enter into the female part. That's why he gives to her. He gives to her. He gave her everything. Now it does not so simple how they left him and go to her, but we'll just say that. Kadei livnos v'lesakin partzufa, in order to build her up into a system that could be strong enough. Kadei shetuchel lachzor apin ba'apin. We mentioned this another idea. And in order for them to create neshamas chadashos, and in order for a geula, a redemption to take place, you have to have a mating between these spiritual powers. It's all the work of the Kabbalists. It's all the work of the Kabbalists. So try to put these spiritual powers in a position where they can mesh. So in order for this to happen, he says that the trick in understanding the secret is that the male force has to go to sleep, and everything that allowed him to be awake and vibrant and to keep his female counterpart alive by giving to her has to leave him, and it has to go into her directly. And this is what's actually happening. Haman is looking at the cosmos, and he's seeing that the Zah is going to sleep. Zah is the real power, right? He's going to sleep. This whole episode, this whole idea is brought out strongly in Rosh Hashanah. So when you learn Rosh Hashanah, you're going to have a completely different idea about what's going on in Rosh Hashanah than you ever had before. Trust me. So he says, but from the side of the female, though, now, there is a brilliance, a radiance, that is coming to her, from her to us. The Inyan Osa Ha'ara, this Ha'ara that's now doesn't come from the male anymore, comes from the female side. That this Ha'ara, Hosa Inyan Mordechai HaTzadik, the Ha'ara that comes from the Nuk de Zah, from the Malchus of Zah, is called Mordechai. Kamo Shnei Bar Bezes Hashem. Now he's going to explain this, but we're not going to go into all of that. Just going to we're not ready. It's not on our pay grade. But he rolls Haman as Mordechai. Now Haman, now he sees that this guy Mordechai, who represents this female force, it's radiating, keeping the Jewish people alive while Zah is sleeping, and it's getting stronger actually. He hates this. He sees that Mordechai is really generating bracha into the Jewish people. This is, in fact, how the Jewish people remained alive during this time. I mean, you're living in exile amongst the people that hate you, but nonetheless, you still manage to grow and be strong, even though you make a few mistakes along the way. It's Yayasim Zarash Ishto. So he sat down, and he counseled with his wife Zarash. And it says, the Rav says that he had 365 counselors. Now, that doesn't yet to be a genius to know that 365 is the number of days of the year. So here, once again, it says that these are people who are experts in cycles. The rabbis say like this, she was a witch, and she was in the big time of magic spells. And all the people who were experts in the days and what was going on in every single day, she was greater than any of them. That's a combination that's hard to beat. And so their advice came up. As Mordechai, they're going to kill Mordechai, and they hang him on a tree. Hu zanva shal nachash. So the Rav says this tree refers to the tail of a nachash. Now I'm going to read a little bit on the side over here that the Tiv, the Gavanas, which is the Pirish on this, is going to tell us to try to explain this idea. It's not so simple. So he says it's the tail of the nachash, hemshech, the regel of the letter kuf. If you take the letter kuf, it's like a P, right? Like this. And it has a tail that goes down. So now he's going to explain how this works, and I'll try to do the best I can to translate and explain it. So it says, "V'kumavur etzlenuk v'kanizkar b'sefer hazoyer and shir hashirim v'dai b'zet." So now that I mentioned it, he says I'm not going to say anything more about it. So then we're going to finish up. Then we'll come back to this idea of the zanav of the nachash. So he says, "V'im chas v'sholom kocha ya'aleh." So let's say that God forbid that they were actually able to get a hold of Mordechai and kill him. Yuchel acher kach la'aved es sonehem shal Yisrael, so that the sonehem of the Jewish people would be able to destroy us, because Mordechai is the life force that's actually making us in this time of darkness, that's keeping us going. But Hashem Yisborach b'rachamav. But what happened is Hashem in His rachama, in His mercy, Heir ha'aras nuk el Yonah. So there's another female counterpart besides the nuk dezah. And this is why it starts to get a little bit more complicated, because we can't go into all of these things, because these are studies of a few months. Gedulas Mordechai ve'Esther, and this is the greatness of Mordechai and Esther. He said, Yadam nosha Yisrael min hatzarach hagadolah ahi, through them, that Mordechai and Esther, and we begin to see that Esther is this hidden aspect from which Mordechai is shining out this radiance to keep the Jewish people alive in a time when Zer Anpin is sleeping. Commotion Evoyer. Now he's going to explain that. He's going to explain it in detail. But that detail, like I say, could take us some time to really understand all the different words and different ideas. Now, what he has said in conclusion is that for the Geula to take place, you have to have the male and the female aspects in a position where they face each other. So a long time ago, I knew someone who was a fortune teller, and she used cards to tell fortunes. And I saw a little bit of how she operated and what she did. It's like a freewheeler style of thinking, and this is what fortune tellers do. And one of the things that she said at certain different cards, that she would say something like this: they had their backs to you. That means they don't like you. Or that means it's a problem that's coming with them. So when you see a situation where the male and the female forces of the universe have their backs to each other, it doesn't mean they don't like each other, but it means that they're not in a position to actually wed. So in order for that wedding to take place, she has to be able to be strong enough to exist not in that. And I discussed this a little bit. I'm not going to go into too much more. This is called the Nesira. So this is a big inyan by Rosh Hashanah. It's a very great topic in all of Kabbalah. And it's one of the primary topics in Kabbalah, actually, is this inyan that we're talking about here. That's why it's such a big secret, because it's not so easy to understand how it is that this takes place. But we do have a basis here. Now let's look at this cute little thing that he says. So here I'm going to read the comment that the Tiva Kavanos, which is the Pirish on the Shara Kavanos of the Ari, and he says like this: they took advice and they're going to decide that they're going to hang him on a tree which is 50 cubits high. And the Rabbit says that this is really the tail of it, represents the tail of the Nachash. Hemshech Regula Kuf. And it says it's the extension, like a kuf, like this, is again like a C with a line, and then it has a tail that goes down, right? It's the letter kuf. So he says like this: Mordechai. So their advice, which was to kill Mordechai, the Tloso Oso al Eitz Gavoa Chamishim Amma. It's going to be 50 Ammas high. Omek. So the depth of Kavanasam. What were they really trying to do? What did they want to do? They wanted to take the ha'ara that Mordechai was shining out and bring it into the force of evil, the force of the other side, which he calls the kali or the klipos. Now, how's he going to do that? Well, you're going to do that, you're going to have to make him fall. You're going to have to make him fall. So this eitz that he prepared for him represents the tail of the serpent, of the snake, which is the seducing element of the other side. A Ramos Beregel Oz Kuf. So he says there's a hint to this in the extension of the letter Kuf. Hanim Shachas Lamata, which goes down. So it's not so if you had a whole bunch of letters, they were all in the same line, but the Kuf has an extension that goes down. Alchiyos Regel Oz Hey Achrona. So let's say you have the name Yud K Vav K, right? So we'll beyond us here. And the last letter, Hey, let's say, is composed of two letters. There's a Daled, and then there's a Vav on the side of it. Shel Shem Havaya, Nimshach v'Yored Lamata. So this, what happens is what you do here is you take that final Hey, and you bring it downwards. You make it lower. So al yedei shahakeli nitlim bo umamshichim aso sheyored lakeli. So what it is that the force of evil of the other side will take Mordechai. They will, let me try to get it, sheyored lakali, and they'll bring him down into the kali shebakoma lamata, which is like the letter kuf, which is down below. So he says like this: Yos hey who murcha b'shtei osios, which is daled and vav. If you take a daled and then you put a vav on its left side, but you don't bring it all the way up to the top, that makes a hey. Because ha-klipos nitlim ba'oz vav, and so as you see that the klipos, the force of the other side, they are hanging on and dependent on the vos vav. Because here's a rule: the other side only exists because of the kedusha that it can suck off of holiness. So therefore, it has no life of its own. It's only an image. It's like a mirror image, or something hallucinogenic, fantastic image. Like Rabbeinu HaKodesh always talks about people's imaginations. Well, the imagination get carried away. When it gets carried away, that's where you find the nachash. So they take the vav, and here's what they're going to do. Now, how they do this, I have no idea. This is what he says. This is what they do. They take the letter vav, which is the second half of the letter hey. Na'asem os vav os nun. They extend it down and they make it into the letter nun. But na'aseh achrona os kuf. And as a result of that, it's no longer a hey, but that is the form of the letter kuf. V'lachein rotzu lahargov letloso al h gavoa nun ama, because we're playing with the letter nun, right? We changed the daled and the hey, which makes the letter hey. The daled and the vav, rather, which makes the letter hey. You're pulling the vav downwards. What kavana they're able to do with this, I can't picture. Shahu sod ha'aras the nun, the ha'os nun, which is the secret of the the nun sofi, the long nun, because there's a nun that's curved, and then there's a nun that's straight down. Shahu regel ha'os kuf, which is the regel, that is the leg of the long leg of the letter kuf. The motion is bar b'zoyer and shir hashirim inyan zeh. So the Zohar explains all of this. V'hatzel ha'hakni says Mordechai the bechina zu. They wanted to bring Mordechai into this extra length of the letter vav. V'yahargo oso, and kill him. V'yidei zeh yibatlo as kocho. And if they can get him into that position where he falls into that, then they will nullify his strength. Yuchlu l'shlot alav chas v'sholem, and they'll have a control of him. God forbid. And I can't tell you that I really understand how they do that. But we're just saying over here that Zarish, the wife of Haman, was a master witch. Witchcraft is using all the selfishness that the other side can get off of Kedusha. You need Kedusha in order to make the other side work. They suck it off of Mordechai and kill him and make themselves much more stronger to be able to do whatever their heart desires. So anyway, this is the last shiur. This is our final shiur on the secret of Purim. I hope you've enjoyed these shiurim. I think we talked about some things that are going to be a preparation for other ideas in Kabbalah. And I just want you to remember one thing, and that's to try to enjoy. That's the main thing. All the best. Thank you.